It's that time again. Time for some killer frickin' tech. Today, we're going to be looking at a pretty badass monitor. This is the P2781PQ. Long name, right? Took me a few seconds there just to memorize this monitor. Now, let's just face it. Your PC itself, very important part of your gaming experience. But let's just face it. Your monitor, you're staring at that. As the Spanish would say, that is muy importante, because you're staring at your monitor the whole time that you're playing your game. So it's pretty much, in my opinion, just as important as your tower. Now, the monitor we're going to check out today is pretty unique in the fact that playing games on it and stuff is pretty much like playing games on a monitor that has 144 hertz refresh rate. It's that same complete flicker-free experience. You guys have heard me talk about it in many of my videos, like staring at normally at a 60 hertz screen. I get a major headache when I'm playing games, and I usually always have to play at a minimum of 144 hertz. If there was more, I'd be looking at it. It's because my head and my eyes, from my age and stuff, my diabetes, it kicks my butt looking at those monitors. I know there's a lot of other people out there that are the exact same way. This monitor, however, features something different. It features a stuff called flicker-free technology. Now, most monitors use pulse width modulation technology. And even though when you're looking at the screen, you can't see the screen tearing, this type of technology still causes lots of stress on the human eyes and the brain and everything because it's flickering the whole time, even though you can't see it with your human eyes. Now, the monitor we're looking at today uses direct current, and what that does, it allows the technology to be completely flicker-free. So even though it's only a 60 hertz monitor, I can play my games with this monitor for hours at a time without getting a massive frickin' headache. But beyond that, let's jump on and let's check out the specs and let's see why this monitor is something very nice, unique, and you guys will see it actually is really elegant because it doesn't have really virtually any bezel whatsoever. Only 22 millimeters of material covering like the entire thing is what they're saying. So it's really crazy. So let's just check this shit out. Now, when you first receive the AOC Q2781PQ, you'll notice that there are just very few things in the box. You get the monitor itself, the DisplayPort cable, the HDMI cable, the power cable, and the user's guide. So on the front side, you guys can see, obviously, a 27-inch monitor. It's an IPS panel, which means that from any angle that you're looking at, it's going to look the same. So if you're a person that's doing a lot of business stuff as well as gaming, you can stand off to the side, talk to your partner about all those spreadsheets and all that stuff, and everybody will be able to see it. So not only is this monitor good for gaming, it's also really good for the business person as well. Now, the resolution on the 2781PQ is 2560 by 1440, and this is actually becoming the new standard. In the past, 1440 was kind of like the mid-ground and the stepping stone to 4K, but now 2560 by 1440 has become the sweet spot. 1080, kind of in the past. 1440 is where it's at for the moment, baby, and that's what this monitor features with a 16:9 aspect ratio, 350 for CD for the brightness, 50 million to 1 for the contrast ratio, so you know this thing's going to be pretty trippy. Now, as far as the color goes, it features a true 8-bit color correction, so the colors are going to be as vibrant, as close as you can get to looking like the real thing. The color depth is at 16.7 million colors, and pixel pitch is something that you don't really hear people talk about much anymore, but it's pretty much measuring the pixel density, horizontal versus vertical. And this monitor features a pixel pitch of 0.23, which means everything's going to be very, very tightly together. In the old days, back when you had CRT monitors, if you were able to get your hands on a point like 17 monitor, you were like, oh my God, this is like the best thing next to heaven. So for a monitor with the newer technology, this pixel pitch is actually very, very well. Now, one caveat, in my opinion, you guys might disagree because maybe it means nothing to you, but to me, I like a monitor that you can pretty much adjust to anything you want. Portrait mode, you can move it up and down, back and forth. The more, the merrier. That's the way I feel. But unfortunately, on this particular model, that's kind of limited. Now, the stand does look badass, and altogether, the thing's very artistic, but if you really want a monitor that's going to be able to move around and do a whole bunch of stuff, you're really limited with this one. Now, the bezel-less feature that's really touted on this monitor, I gotta say it's kind of a mixed thing because even though there actually is no bezel, there's still a space between the actual picture you're seeing on the screen and the edge of the monitor. So at first, I was like, oh man, this thing's so fucking bitchin', man. I'm gonna be able to put 3 of these things together and there's not gonna be anything, but actually, even if you put 3 of them together, there's still going to be that small space. Now, to me, if this thing was gonna be the most absolute badass monitor in the world, it would have actually had no bezel whatsoever. Kind of like the new Samsung phone, Just have a monitor that's completely a monitor with no bezel. Come on, folks. I know you guys can do it because technology keeps advancing. And so to me, that's going to be the true completely bezel-less monitor. When you can set 3 of these bad boys right next to each other and see no separation between all 3, I will be happier than a camper with a campfire and a marshmallow. As far as power requirements go, on standby, this monitor consumes a half a watt. When it's fully up and going, it consumes 47 watts. But one really nice thing about the monitor is there's absolutely no heat. On a lot of monitors I've got in the past, I touch the thing, it's like, whoa! This one's actually very, very cool. Now the on-screen displays, they're pretty easy to access. They're located on the left-hand side right underneath the monitor. There's a few different buttons in there. You can go in and choose what type of display port you're using, if you're using HDMI, all that good stuff. And then there's those other buttons where you can do just a whole caveat of different things. They have so many different features. How many of them you're actually going to use, I don't know, but they're still cool to have. Now the inputs for this monitor, they're pretty minimalistic. At least I think that most folks are going to think this. You have a VGA connection, which can do DVI, DVI-D, all that kind of stuff. You get a single display port and 2 HDMI connections. Now, the cool thing about the display port over HDMI is that you can hook up multiple monitors all along the chain. With HDMI, it's really, really great, but if you're going to be doing something that requires, like we talked about a minute ago, those 3 monitors, having the display port is really good. And although this AOC monitor doesn't actually have speakers built into the monitor itself, it does have an audio out jack. Now the biggest question probably on everybody's mind is, okay, Eric, the specs are cool and everything, but how does the monitor look? Well, the screen is completely crisp and clean. It looks very, very nice. Even though it's not a curved monitor, it still gives you lots of area to visualize, and since it has that 178 viewing angle that you can see from anywhere, that's really cool. So if you're playing your games and stuff, your friends could check it out. Like I said before, business folks can check it all out, and just looking at in-game when you're checking out all the visuals inside of the game, you guys can see that this thing looks totally killer. I mean, between monitors, it's really hard, I think, and especially in the high quality range, of seeing a dynamic difference, between the differences in the colors and stuff. But you guys can see that in game, this monitor just looks totally badass. What more can I say? There's nothing that I can really say that's negative about this monitor other than, the price is about $350. But the biggest thing to me is the ability to play games for hours on end on a 60 hertz monitor that doesn't make my brain fizzle, make me go, honestly, I hate that. So to me, that's the absolute biggest aspect about this monitor to me. It's a very beautiful 27-inch monitor. The IPS screen is totally kick-ass. It's got just enough controls that you need. The on-screen display is nice. I mean, it just looks nice. It's elegant. I've talked about the few things that were a caveat. You can't move it around or do anything like that, so that kind of sucks, for my personal thing. But other people are going to be like, who gives a crap, Alec? That means absolutely nothing, man. Move on. All right, so we'll move on. But at the end of the day, you guys know that monitors out there that feature G-Sync and FreeSync, and honestly, G-Sync is way overpriced. NVIDIA will wake the fuck up on that one. You guys just give that technology for free. AMD does. Who cares? Just give up that dollar and make monitors equal across the board. Now, those monitors feature pretty much kind of the same thing as a flicker-free monitor. It's a little bit faster refresh rate and everything, but the blinking is actually the thing and, is what gives you the headache. So if a monitor has, absolutely no flicker whatsoever, it's pretty much in my eyes, just as a user, as being the equivalent of that. And let's just face it, man, G-Sync monitors are like almost $600. Some of them we've seen with the Predator series and shit. Come on, that shit was $1,300, bro. And FreeSync monitors, they are a little bit cheaper. They're like in $500 low range. For the AMD fans, that's really cool. But if you don't care about, manufacturer card or anything like that, and you just want a monitor that you can play on that won't give you a headache, that's great to view, you guys might want to give this a chance and check it out. Go down to Best Buy or something like that. We'll have a link down below to Amazon if you want to get more information or buy one for yourselves. But if you want to see it in person, find a place that has it and go check it out. I think you'll be pretty impressed. Here at Tech Tomorrow, I give it an editor's choice. I think it's a pretty badass monitor at the end of the day. I want to see what you guys have to say. I hope you like this video, and if you do, go Jackie Chan, Chuck Norris, Terminator, every badass mofo that it's ever been on that like button. And if you're not subscribed and you like what you see, hey, subscribe to Tech Tomorrow because I'm here almost every day bringing you new tech. Peace out.